So we have our program here, and this program doesn't really solve a problem, like a real problem. And what I mean by real problem is, I went to 7-Eleven earlier today, and I saw a machine that was sitting on the counter that solved a real problem. And what was that machine? It was a cash register. And what problem did it solve? Well, usually when somebody goes to 7-Eleven, they pick up all of the things that they want, like Doritos, Sour Patch Kids candy, and maybe a soda from the refrigerator. And they bring all of the items to the counter, and the man enters in the prices of each of those items and presses a button on the cash register. What the cash register does is it adds up the prices of all of the items, and then it calculates the tax, right? And so the man doesn't need to add up all of the numbers, and he doesn't also need to calculate the tax and add it to the total. The cash register does all of the math for him. So now he's able to do his job faster. That's something where I'm thinking, okay, well, that's a real life problem that we're solving using a computer. Because if you look inside of a cash register, you'll find a computer. Okay? Maybe not one that looks exactly like the one that you have in front of you, but there's definitely a computer in there. Okay? You look inside of a calculator, there's a computer in there. And so let's go ahead and solve a problem that looks something like that. Okay? So in order to do that, we need to introduce a new function called input. Okay? We talked about print, okay, and what that does, prints things to our console. But we also have a function called input. And you could tell that something's a function because it has the two parentheses. So I'm going to put here input allows a program to take in data from the user. And so when I'm talking about the user, I'm talking about the user of your program. So let's go ahead and see how input works. So I'm going to put in here, I'm going to make a variable called total. And maybe for now, I can comment out these two lines of code. Okay. So I'm going to say total is equal to input with two parentheses. And in the parentheses, I'm going to put double quotes. And I'm going to put here enter the price of item 1. Okay. And maybe I could put here item _1 actually. Okay. Okay, well, great. And what does that do? Well, let me, down here on my print, I could print out item 1. Okay. Ooh, notice that thing also. So right here when I'm typing in item 1, like you could see here that it auto completes it for me. Okay, it automatically completes what I want to type in. So when I type in the I, this is not what I want to type in. I don't want to type in id, right? But when I type in the T, it auto completes it, right? And it says item 1, and hey, that is the string that I want to type in. Those are the characters I want to type in. So from here, right when it prints that out, I can press my tab button. If I press tab, it will finish it for me. Okay, so that will save you a lot of time if you get used to doing that when it becomes available. So I'm going to print out item 1. Okay. Now, what does input do? Right? Well, when we run the program, it's going to ignore all of this stuff, right? These are all comments now, so it doesn't do it. Gets to line 8, does line 9. Remember, the equal sign executes the right side first. Okay, so it executes this side here first. But this is a function call to input. We call it a function call to input. And what does input do? It stops your program, it prints this onto your console, and it waits. And it waits for the user to type something in on the keyboard, like 5.99, like 599, and hit enter. And after you hit enter, then this whole input function gets replaced with what you typed in, 5.99. Then item 1 is equal to 5.99, and when I print item 1, it prints out 5.99. Okay. So let's go ahead and try that out and see if it actually works the way that I say that it works. I'm going to press the plus sign. You can see here it prints out, enter the price of item 1. The program is still running, but it's stopped and it's waiting for me to enter something in. So I'm going to enter 5.99 and hit enter. And you see here, it prints out 5.99. So great, we're ready to get started here. And now let's go ahead and have somebody enter in the price of the second item and the price of the third item. Okay, so I'm going to do control copy, control V. So the way that I did this is I highlighted this line and I pressed command control C. I pressed command, I held it down, and I pressed C to copy it. And then I went to the next line and I pressed command, I held it down, and I pressed V. And I could do that again. I hit enter, hold down command, and press V. For those of you guys who are on a Windows machine, you would hold down control and press C and V. C is to copy and V is to paste. Now, I don't want this one to be called item 1, right? I want to call it item 2, and this one to be called item 3, right? If I did call all of these item 1, right, it would come here and ask for the price of item 1. I would type in 5. Then it would come here and ask for the price of item 2, and I would enter 7. And then it would come here and I would ask for the price of item 3, and I would enter 10. Right? And when it goes to print, it's just going to print the 10. Because what is it doing? It's taking the 5 and putting it in item 1. Then it's taking the 7 and replacing the content of item 1. The 5 gets thrown away and it's replaced with the 7. Then finally, the 7 is thrown away and it's replaced with the 10. Okay? So I don't want to throw the 5 and the 7 away. I don't want to throw anything away. I want all of those values. Okay? So that's why I'm going to save them in different variables, item 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to put here item 1, item 2, and item 3. All right. So now that I do that, what I want to do now is I want to calculate my answer. And how do I calculate my answer? I can say answer is equal to item 1 plus item 2 plus item 3. And notice here I can press my up and down arrow to see which one I want to press tab on, and it auto completes it for me. So finally, I want to print out my answer. And where is my answer? Well, let's go ahead and run through this program. It ignores all of these lines, comes to this input, I'm going to type in a 5, comes to this input, I'm going to type in a 7, comes to this input, I'm going to type in a 10, and then it gets to line 13. On line 13, remember the equal sign. It executes the right side first. So it's going to replace that with the contents of the variable item 1, which is 5. It's going to replace that variable with the content of item 2, which is 7. It's going to replace that with the content of item 3. Then it's going to add them all together, get 22, and I want to print out answer. Okay, it's going to print out 22. So let's go ahead and see if this actually works the way that we think it should work. And of course, I want to print out answer down here. Okay, so let's run it. I'm going to print 5, 7 for item 2. I'm going to print 10 for item 3, and it prints out 22. Okay, so how does input work? Well, it stops your computer, waits for them to enter in a value, and once they do enter a value, then this input function call is replaced with that number that they entered in. Okay, so the way that I like to think about it when I translate code, I'm looking at line number 9, and the way I like to think about it is the variable item 1 is equal to whatever they type in on the keyboard. The variable item 2 is equal to whatever they typed in on the keyboard the second time, and the variable item 3 is equal to whatever they typed in on the keyboard the third time. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and put this program together and get it to work, right? Make sure that it does work correctly, and when it does, then we can move on to the next video.